CiNEMACHiNE. I'm Al, and I'm here with Ryan.
Howdy.
And Brandon.
Hello.
And this week we're going to review Green Room. But first, we want to make sure that you all know how to get in touch with us and also how you can vote at the end of the show. So, Ryan, do you want to tell them where to go?
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, you can throw your vote down in the comments. And if you follow us on Instagram, we love chatting with you guys about movies. So it's at CiNEMACHiNEpod.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in, of course. Every week we start the show out by talking about what we've been watching. So this week is unlike no other. First, I want to start out with Brandon. Brandon, what have you been watching this week?
Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is actually something that we don't ever get to talk about because I think I'm the only person that plays video games on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I don't even play them that much, but not as much as I would like to, at least. But I finally, after a few months, finished The Last of Us Part 2.
A few months?
Yeah.
Dude.
What?
Hang on. I never want to hear an excuse for you not seeing a movie in a week. It's like I've played a video game for a few months.
Yeah, it takes a long time. It's like a 35-hour game.
Go ahead. That's ridiculous. Go ahead.
Just saying. That's why it took like at least 3 months to finish it.
Oh my god.
This is me chipping away at it, like, a couple hours a week.
Oh my gosh. Go ahead.
Brandon's the worst.
Okay,
No,
so anyway,
he's really the best, but it's just funny. So go ahead.
Can you elaborate on that, please?
That you're the best?
Yes.
I just got a text from Melissa to tell her. She said, I need to give you some self-esteem.
Okay, I knew there was something else. All right, so anyway,
love you, buddy.
The Last of Us, the first The Last of Us was, to me, probably the most influential video game as far as any kind of modern video game. And it's a game that kind of changed my whole perspective on storytelling within a video game. And it's kind of a post-apocalyptic type game, very similar to, it's very similar in concept that you would see with just people trying to survive a post-apocalyptic type scenario. But this one kind of centers around a guy who had lost his daughter at the beginning of the virus that kind of hits globally, and kind of about 20 years later, he kind of fosters this young girl who is the last. It's kind of like a Children of Men type scenario, except where instead of a girl that's pregnant with the first natural born kid, she is.
May I interject for just a second? For those of you that don't know, Children of Men is a really good movie, so go ahead.
That's correct, Al.
It's not a video game, is what I'm saying.
Yes. So anyway, she's like
Gotta make this interesting.
Okay. She is she's immune to the virus, and she's like the only person on Earth that's immune, and they're trying to get her to this facility to try and do some research on her to see if they can get a vaccine created for the virus. Anyway, the first game is phenomenal. And the second game just came out in July, if I'm not mistaken. It could have been August. I can't remember. It's been a while.
You've been playing it for 3 months.
Yeah, 2 to 3 months. I think it came out in July, but it could be. It's been pushed back so many times, so I can't really remember when exactly it came out. Anyway, and it never had a. There you go, June 19th. It never really stood a chance for me to really live up to the first game because I kind of hold it up on a pedestal, with it being my favorite game and all. But it's definitely a game I would recommend, especially if you've played the first one. Obviously, I wouldn't play it if you hadn't played the first one, but it is on PlayStation 4, and it kind of continues the story of Ellie and Joel. And it kind of got review bombed when it first came out because there's a gameplay dynamic that kind of changes halfway through the game, which I won't spoil here. But depending on your kind of, your involvement with the first game and how attached you were to some of the story elements to that, it could kind of swing you one way or the other. But I thought overall, I mean, the first game was about 20 hours long. Again, this game is like 35 plus, and it's for $60. I can't think of a better, bang for your buck in terms of just gameplay, story, and as far as like people that really like kind of get off on graphic fidelity in games. It's probably one of the best looking games that I've ever seen on a console. So I would highly recommend it if you haven't checked it out already.
Have you pre-ordered your PS5 or your Xbox? What are they calling the next one? I don't even know.
I think it's called Xbox Series X. But no, I haven't. I do want to pre-order a PS5, but they're all sold out. So maybe one day. We'll see. Anyway, but yeah, Last of Us Part 2. Check it out. And speaking of things that are groundbreaking and kind of changed the game, I returned to an old favorite of mine this week, and I watched Zack Snyder's 300.
And who was the director of that? Did you say Zack Snyder?
Yeah, I don't care what goes into your brain.
Real excited.
Zack Snyder. It's this movie came out when I was in high school, I believe, or maybe I was in college. I can't remember the exact year, but I kind of caught it on a whim with my cousin and another buddy of mine. Didn't really know anything about it going into it. I didn't know that it was a Frank Miller adaptation, and I was just blown away by that movie. I really was kind of taken aback with the visual style. Being a comic book guy, just in general, and really kind of gravitating to those types of films. I'd never seen a movie do a panel to screen type adaptation like they did with this one, and really how they kind of treat the contrasting imagery. They make it very striking with kind of very inky blacks and like silhouettes, and they it kind of created a new like visual staple with speed ramping that a lot of copycats tried to mimic. After that, you got a lot of people trying to do that like two-camera.
Guy Ritchie was doing it before he did it.
Doing that two-camera like zoom in, zoom out. They mounted like two cameras beside each other, and obviously shot at it.
Give Brandon his moment.
Shot at it. I'm just gonna keep talking. I don't care what he says.
He's filibustering with 300 for this episode.
I really love it. Kind of put Gerard Butler, Michael Fassbender both on the map. Not to mention Zack Snyder was kind of his breakthrough movie. He had done Dawn of the Dead previously, but this was kind of the big movie that kind of put him on the map.
Yeah, I remember this one being, when I was in school, this was one of those movies that was kind of went viral in I guess I was maybe in middle school at the time, high school, middle school, in that area. And it was the first time I remember a movie like kind of taking off in theaters that wasn't like a franchise,
Yeah.
Of some sort. And just like you said,
it's very it's super, super stylistic, obviously. The dialogue is so memorable, and
right.
and like I said, it's just a super like machismo action movie that I know that like it inspired so many like workout routines for people. I remember our band was touring at the time, and so like we always had 300 playing in the car whenever we were commuting to the next
calf presses.
Right. And then I remember so this movie came out, and we were at the beach when it came out on DVD, and I made it as soon as it came out on DVD, I went to Best Buy in Daytona and took it back to the condo, and just we went up to the penthouse suite at the condo, and I put it on the big TV there, and I was trying to get everybody to gather around. Nobody really cared, and I just sat there and watched it by myself. And but
Hey,
yeah,
guys.
Ryan and I obviously have an affinity for Zack Snyder, and Al is, as you can tell, he's just an a-hole about everything.
People who aren't familiar with his reputation, he kind of
Ruins movies.
generates a love-hate. Like, people either really love him or really love to hate him.
Yeah.
There's not really much.
And us two love him. The guy in the middle, not so much. He'll go out of his way to trash talk him, and that's kind of the way it goes. People continue to bring up his name and talk about him as much as they can, and that would be the person right here in the middle.
What's the phrase? Rent free? Is that the phrase?
Yep. Living rent free in Al's head since what?
Yeah.
2005. One thing I did notice, Ryan, was I saw a guy as one of the Spartans in the movie, and I was like, this guy looks so familiar, and I couldn't like put my finger on it. I was like, wait a second. That guy directed, or is one of the directors of the John Wick movies, and then Deadpool 2, and it was David Leitch.
Really?
He was one of Snyder's fight choreography guys, and so he was an extra.
Yeah, it's one of
in the
those
movie.
things with all of his movies is he's like super loyal to the cast that he works with. So you find him sprinkled.
Well, that's what I found kind of curious is there's no really like holdover actors or actresses in 300 besides the one guy that plays the he's like the like scholar, like councilman that has the beard. Looks like Abe Lincoln. He plays Owlman, I think, in Watchmen. But like, there's really nobody else that's been in his films, and Snyder kind of keeps people throughout his films. Like he reuses actors and actresses as he picks up new projects. But this one was kind of an anomaly. But anyway, that's all I got.
Awesome.
300, check it out. It came out on 4K this week. Go get it.
I was like, awesome. Thank God that's over.
It's too long to talk about that movie. All right, Ryan, what have you been watching?
So mine's gonna be real short this week. I've been pretty inundated with playoff baseball. So the only things that we have continued have been The Boys and The Vow. If you're a documentary fan, I recommend checking that out on HBO Max. But another great episode of The Boys last week. Ending super mind blowing.
Literally.
Those are. Well, I didn't want to spoil it, Brandon. Unbelievable.
It's mind blowing.
Yeah, so that's really, I don't really have much to add other than that because I haven't had a chance to check anything else out. But I will pass it on to Al now.
All right, so I can't really talk about the first movie that much because there's far too many spoilers. But I highly recommend everybody watch Brigsby Bear. There is a lot to this movie. It's a lot better than you're probably thinking if you're just like looking at the poster or something. I was kind of nervous because I don't really like the lead actor that much when he's on. I don't watch Saturday Night Live anymore, but he's on there. So anyway, I highly suggest everybody just go out and check out Brigsby Bear. What's it
about?
What's that?
What's it about?
Well, that's the thing. If I tell you too much of what it's about a kid's show ultimately.
What's the SNL alum?
What's his name? I forget his name. He's on there now. He's the guy with long hair, kind of like the squirrely.
See how I'm asking you questions about the movie that you picked and not really being an a-hole about it, even though I don't care to watch it.
Don't care. I mean, seriously.
Al's
Hold me hostage talking about Zack Snyder. It's like I'm trying to get through because we went on a 40-minute dissertation about that. So anyway, so go ahead and just watch.
I just want to keep you talking.
No,
dig that grave, baby.
And then I think another movie that I really really like is called In a Lonely Place, and it's an old Humphrey Bogart movie. It's a great movie.
Sounds fun.
It is. It's very good.
Super fun.
It's very good. It is about a man that has a short temper. He's a writer in Hollywood. He's got a short temper, and it is seen to the naked eye that everybody thinks that he murdered this girl, and you have to go through the whole movie, did he or didn't he? And he falls in love with a girl, a witness that actually proves that he didn't early on in the movie, so it's not a spoiler. But then she starts to believe maybe he did. So you just never know. It's a very good movie, so highly suggest everybody watch that. I own the Criterion, but and that's how I watched it. And transfer, everything's great. But I think you'll find some actors and actresses in there that you might not know right off the top of your head, and you'll want to watch more of their stuff. So that's what we've been watching. Right now, we're going to go to a break, and we'll come back with the news. All right, we are back with the news. Brandon's going to share what's going on in the world of movies with us. So take it away, Brandon.
Nothing is going on.
And
movies are canceled. There are no movies anymore. The world is ending. The end.
Great time to start a movie podcast, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Feels like Mars Attacks.
Yeah, the news is that everything's been delayed for the most part. We talked last week about Bond getting delayed, and what was the other one that got delayed last week? I can't even remember at this point.
What movie? The question.
Black Widow, I think.
It's not been delayed.
Yeah, the only thing that hasn't been delayed is Wonder Woman 84 and Soul, which is a Pixar movie.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing the trailer for that.
And
there was something else.
Free Guy.
Yep. Maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did you see the tweet that I sent you guys? It was like a full cast Zoom call, and they were trying to have different members of the cast like drop little audio teasers, and it started out with coming out in December, maybe coming out first quarter next year, maybe, and just went to like coming out before the next Olympics, probably.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. I mean, seems like this whole year in general is a wash, but definitely movies. The only thing that we have to look forward to movies wise are just, any
older
sort of
movies,
any sort of digital release as far as new movies, whether it's VOD or streamer exclusives.
We've talked about it a little bit, but I just want these studios to just say, pick a date halfway through for the next 8 months. Any movie that was going to come out, we're going to release it on digital. I know it's more complicated than doing
release it on digital or in tandem with theatrical releases while the theaters are still open. Because now, which is the next kind of thing on the list, which is Cinemark and Regal have announced that I think starting Thursday they're closing all their locations.
You were going to do that, Brandon. That's fake news.
Yeah.
Cinemark is going to stay open. But it's okay because I got you.
Well, I mean, what's crazy is the theater that we just saw Tenet in is now closed, right?
Is it closed now or is it closing Thursday? But either way.
By the time this comes out now.
Cinemark is staying open. Regal's closing.
I thought Cinemark owned Regal.
They may, but
all right. Look,
open.
Everybody looked at the CiNEMACHiNE LinkedIn page because we're going to be hiring a fact checker pretty soon. So it's getting far too far gone.
I saw this on the show notes, and I was like, well, I can either correct him now or I can correct him live. Let's correct him live.
I'll be a jerk about it and do it live.
Anyway, so theaters are closing, movies aren't opening. That's pretty much it.
The world is ending.
There's really not much to say other than, maybe there'll be some surprise VOD stuff coming out.
It did sound like the Witches movie could potentially be a little bit of a testing ground for Warner.
Yeah.
To
The interesting thing about that is that is probably, which was kind of also next in our list. They put out a trailer this week or last week that that's coming to HBO Max on October 22nd, and that's a Robert Zemeckis directed film. It's a remake of Roald Dahl's. It's a novel, I guess, but they also made a movie.
Macaulay Culkin in it?
No, he wasn't in it. I don't remember the kid's name. It had Angela Houston.
Angelica Houston, yeah.
Angelica Houston.
I remember watching that, and it didn't scare out. The movie was kind of boring, but I liked Angelica Houston because I think she was already in the Addams Family, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I remember seeing it when I was a kid and was terrified when she turned into her witch form. I don't remember how old I was when I saw it, but anyway, the trailer came out for this one, and I thought it looked like it could be pretty good. I don't know if I'll show it to Luna, but it's I want to see a good Zemeckis film because I haven't really seen him do much that's like worked for me as of late. Honestly, can't think of. I didn't see Flight. I didn't see The Walk. I didn't see the Steve Carell like stomp
Flight
animation.
Was that the Denzel Washington?
Yeah. I heard that was actually good, but I just never got around to seeing it.
Yeah, that one was pretty solid.
What was the one with Steve Carell with the like stop animation type where he's like a
something land or based on that guy that yeah, it was a true story, based on a true story. Welcome to Marmland or
yeah.
I can't remember.
I didn't see that one. But I did see Back to the Future. And that was good.
Wow, that's the last thing you saw of his, huh? Welcome to Marwin.
Marwin.
I knew it was something Mar or something. Sorry.
And I did see Who Framed Roger Rabbit, also good.
Okay.
But yeah. So yeah, and like Ron was saying, there were some whispers today on Twitter that HBO or Warner Brothers is looking at the performance of The Witches to see how that performs for them to kind of test the waters if they're interested in releasing some other tentpole movies like Wonder Woman 84.
So watch it, please.
Yeah.
Tell everyone to watch
Also,
it.
something that's coming to HBO Max in 2021 is that Greenland movie. Do you remember that trailer when we went to see Tenet? The Gerard Butler. It's like a natural disaster type movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's hitting VOD at the end of this year, I think, and then HBO paid like $20 to $30 million to get it exclusively.
Well, they're just throwing money at stuff.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. So when it comes to streaming, it'll be on HBO. And then it said early 2021. I don't know exactly when, but yeah. So that kind of recaps where we're at on the digital and theatrical front. Theatrical, we're nowhere, and digital, we have a few things. Another thing that I wanted to bring up is, sorry, what?
No, I was just gonna say, we talked a little bit about the theatrical to digital thing, but how do you think this like affects? Because there's gonna be such a logjam of movies over the next 2 years. Like, in your opinion, do you think that waiting and releasing them in theaters, the benefit of that with
if they wait too long, there's not going to be a theater.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying to Ryan earlier today. Was I feel like they keep holding off, and eventually they're kind of going to shoot themselves in the foot as far as they're not going to have all these theaters are going to be closing because they're just not going to be able to sustain themselves. And the longer that happens, they're putting it off in a hope to make more money later down the road theatrically. But if the market's not there, and people are getting further and further away from getting, as far as being, accustomed to watching movies in cinemas versus now watching them at home,
right?
They're just, kind of digging themselves a grave, as far as I'm concerned.
I think it kind of wears on you after a while. We've kind of talked about Wonder Woman 84. Like, it's been pushed back so many times that, and I'm a comic book fan. Like, I'm not super pumped about this movie anymore. I'm just like, just get it out.
You lose any kind of steam that you had going into a release if you keep pushing it back, and people just like, you cry wolf enough that, you know, it's like, well, whatever.
Right.
So yeah, the enthusiasm is just going to wane with all these movies continually getting pushed. Especially for the amount of time that a lot of these are getting pushed, 4 years now. It's like, all right, well,
I know.
You know, like they announce these dates, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not even gonna pay attention. Who cares? Because it'll probably get pushed again. So it's like, whatever.
So is there anything else in the news, Brandon?
Well, this was something that happened, I guess, I believe it was after we recorded last time. Guy Ritchie. Since we reviewed The Gentleman already, Guy Ritchie was announced that he is doing a Gentleman series. They haven't said, I don't think, who it's for, but he is. It may be one of those things where they kind of bid it out and whoever wins it type thing. But right now, it's in the early stages of development.
I'll be interested to see who all gets attached to that. If it's like a spin-off type deal, or if it's...
I've heard conflicting things. Like, I've heard that McConaughey is attached, and then I've heard that Hunnam is attached, but nothing like, it seems to be like maybe
until it's
wishful
on
thinking.
IMDb, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. Well, thanks, Brandon, for the news.
Sure.
Mostly true this week.
I think he was true. Tell us if Brandon got anything wrong. I think he was pretty spot on this week, though. So, everybody, we will be right back with
Thanks,
our review
Al.
of Green Room.
Trying to make up for last segment.
No. All right, we are back, and we are going to review Green Room this week. You voted. Thank you. And
Yes,
I won.
Thanks, Katie.
I won. Now I want to clear this up first and foremost. Ryan, clear it up. You're the one that tallies the votes. Clear it up. Was this rigged or was this fair?
It is true that he would have won the vote regardless. Katie did a ton of lobbying to try to get Al's movie reviewed for some reason.
And then she didn't want to watch the movie.
Maybe she felt bad for him. Yeah, and then she went on YouTube and watched the trailer and
tried to do
this was a terrible choice.
she tried to retcon her so
she got a couple people to change their votes back, but not enough.
So first off, I want to say thanks to Katie, but I want to thank everybody that voted in favor of Green Room.
You would have won regardless of Katie, just so you know.
So thank you very much. I, unlike some people, am very thankful when you vote for my movie because it happens very rarely. So anyway, Green Room, yes, directed by...
I'm very grateful for all votes on this end as well.
Yeah, me too. So, Green Room, directed by Jeremy Saulnier, was released April 15th, 2016 on a limited basis, but it expanded everywhere to April 29th, whenever wide release. It had a budget of $5 million and brought in at the box office $3.8 million. However, it really gained steam after it got on to Blu-ray and streaming and such. The synopsis of this movie is: a punk rock band is forced to fight for survival after witnessing a murder at a neo-Nazi skinhead bar. Stars Anton...
Edgy.
Yeah.
Al's favorite genre.
Yeah.
Neo-Nazis.
It stars Anton Yelchin. Not
It's a
his
big
last
American
movie.
History X.
Sure. Anton Yelchin. Imogen Poots.
I was like, just let me have this moment.
Alia Shawkat. So, and of course you got Patrick Stewart in here and Macon Blair. Those are the real big names. You also have Joe Cole and Caleb Turner. And Turler. And I'm just so overwhelmed with excitement. Mark Webber.
Turler.
So
Caleb Turtler.
Miss Turner.
Yeah, you best believe in ghost stories, Miss Turner.
So
You're
folks-
in one.
So, folks, we're going to start out tonight by chatting with Ryan on what he thought about his initial thoughts, only initial thoughts, not get too deep into the weeds here. What were your initial thoughts of Green Room? Because this was your first time watching it, correct?
It was.
Okay.
It was indeed.
So, what were your initial thoughts?
All right, Al. I had a lot of build up for this movie from you.
Okay.
It was good. I am interested to see what all the fuss is about with you.
Hmm?
Hearing you talk.
Hmm?
I thought the acting was good.
Hmm?
I liked the setting. I thought it was a cool, it was unique. But it's a little bit, it just felt a little bit, and you probably know more than I do, but it felt like a little bit of a kind of white bread plot. It was just, I don't know, it just seemed kind of simple.
Okay.
But, I mean, A24, as much as I make fun of it, they do tend to make good films.
Yeah, they deliver the goods for the most part. Not all of them, but for the most part. So, all right, cool. Brandon, what were your initial thoughts? And you saw this, about a year or two ago?
Yeah, I saw it on home video. I don't remember. I saw it on your recommendation, but I can't remember if I saw it before or after.
I was like, say that again?
I can't remember if I saw it before or after
Blue Ruin?
Blue Ruin, yeah.
I want to say you saw it after, if I remember right.
Yeah. But
Blink twice if you're in trouble, Brandon. I like this movie. I don't think anybody will love it as much as you do, but I do like it a lot, and I think it's got a couple things going for it that really appeal to me. That is obviously the band element. I love the traveling
I was
band.
wondering if that was going to be a thing for you guys.
There's so many things that they do before the neo-Nazi. I can't really identify with the whole neo-Nazi venue. I never played one of those venues, but the restaurant that they play at before they get
the
to
burrito.
the venue.
Yeah.
I've played at a restaurant like similar situation like that.
I have too.
In Rincon, Georgia. Sleeping in the van and that kind of stuff is
In a cornfield?
Not in a cornfield. We never fell asleep at the wheel and ended up in a cornfield, but definitely slept in the van before. But yeah, I mean, I love I don't want to get too in depth just yet, but overall really enjoyed it, and I think it's his strongest film that I've seen. I've only seen 3. This one, Blue Ruin, and Hold the Dark.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into it later, but
all right,
thumbs
cool.
up.
All right, awesome. So I saw this movie by myself in a theater because this movie was not super popular right when it first came out, but I had already seen Blue Ruin and fell in love with Jeremy Saulnier. Now, on top of that, I saw Murder Party, his first real movie, which is like a comedy with a lot of blood. So it's not my favorite Murder Party, but it is still watchable movie. It's got some parts in it that are worthy, but you could tell that he really hit his stride whenever he hit Blue Ruin. So I was pumped, and I marked this on my calendar. This is similar to how you guys are super excited about the Snyder Cut and Wonder Woman and things of that nature. I was excited about this movie coming out like that, and I could not talk
that. I seriously doubt that.
No. I seriously was.
I don't think so.
I'm sure you were excited.
I bet you were excited.
I was super excited, and I went.
Do you have do you commonly have dreams about Jeremy Saulnier?
No, I don't do that. So anyway, I got it really excited because I was like, man, so Brandon always talks about how I don't like anything new. And I was like, this is like a breath of fresh air. So I'm going to go watch this movie. And I was just crossing my fingers that too many fat cats didn't get into this guy that I saw was making movies and things and was appreciating what he did. And I saw Blue Ruin on Netflix by accident, just to be honest with you. So I went to the theater and I was so excited. I ordered a slushie or an icy and a popcorn. Like, I got all excited.
Treat yourself.
I was like, man, I'm good. Nobody. I couldn't talk anybody into going to see this movie. I couldn't pay them, nothing. Everybody's like, no, it looks terrible.
Did you wear your red laces?
No. And that's terrible. Those people are awful. So anyway, I've had to deal with those type of people before.
Make sure that's clear.
Yeah.
Out is not like neo-Nazis.
No, I don't. I've had to deal with them.
Let's just say the word more so YouTube.
Will you go on the record and denounce neo-Nazis?
Absolutely.
Right now.
I will denounce any of that nonsense.
What do you want to call them?
I am jerks. So anyway,
neo-Nazis, stand down and stand back. Sorry, go ahead.
I went to...
Oh, gosh, Brandon.
Yeah, I don't want to make this political at all. People watch this to not watch politics. So I went to this movie. I had my knees in my chest pretty much the whole movie. And I ordered a small icy, but it was still like this big. So was
it an icy or a slushy?
It was an icy. Okay. I think it was the brand, actually, icy. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So anyway.
The good stuff.
So you know it's good.
I got a Coke icy and a small popcorn. Anyway, I was like holding my knees in my chest. Like, it wasn't because I was scared or anything. It was just like so tense. And I was like, oh, this is what movies are supposed to do to you. And I got so excited. And there might have been 4 or 5 other people in the theater. I can't remember. But I was giddy like a little kid when I watched this movie because I was like, man, it feels real. Like I was talking about with the devil all the time, about how it doesn't feel lived in and stuff like that. This movie feels lived in. It feels gritty. You believe these people are in a band, things like that. So I came out of that theater. I mean, you would have thought I was on Sesame Street that day. I was so happy. I was excited. And I told everybody and anybody that would listen to me about, like, strangers in the street, whatever, about this movie. And nobody cared. When it came out on Blu-ray, I went to the store and bought it immediately. I have it right next to me, actually. And I mean,
pillow.
Do you want to show us?
So, but I love this movie so much, not because it's a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination. It's very rare that you get even a near perfect movie. But I like it because it was good storytelling. It was a simple story. However, the way it was made and how real it felt, like Brandon, I've lived in that world to a certain extent. I was in a heavy metal band. I was in a punk rock band. And we played at some places that you didn't know if you were going to get out alive. Not because of the same circumstances, just because in punk rock bands, you challenge your audience. You're smart aleck all the time. And that's kind of what the whole thing is about. And I was a straight edge kid, had the big X's on my hands and all that stuff. You know, didn't drink alcohol, didn't do any drugs or anything like that. So I was even more into that. So it's just, I felt this world. It felt I could smell this movie because it took me back. And I understand Ryan not being able to get that far into it, but it took me back to, like, going into those clubs, those bars, and not knowing if you were going to make your way out because people either loved you or hated you by the time you left, because you were going to do the show you did regardless, similar to how they did their first song, Nazi Punks, and things of that nature. So, love this movie.
Yeah, I immediately, when they started opening with that first show, I immediately was like, I get why both these guys like this movie, because I can see, having been in that situation, how you can, I don't know, put yourself in their place more. And I will say, even I'm I'm a rock music fan, and going to concerts, there's a couple scenes where they're performing, and or it's really just one scene when they're at the neo-Nazi bar, and they show the crowd like really getting into the music.
Yeah.
And like that was the only time where I like was able to kind of put myself in those shoes, where you can kind of lose yourself at a rock concert. But
yeah. I played a Mexican restaurant and got a big burrito. It was a 1.5-pound burrito. That's all they gave me for payment. And I ate on that thing for about a week because that's all the food I could afford. Because I was like broke. But yeah, I mean, so anyway, that's the beginnings and my initial thoughts of it. Trying to take you back to 2016 when I did see this. That's I couldn't stop talking about it, and I'm sure I even talked to Brandon about it immediately. But this movie gave me such a visceral kind of effect. Like I couldn't stop thinking about it, talking about it, and that was my favorite movie of the year by far. So let's get into a little bit more of the dirt and grain of this movie. Ryan, so you said that you don't understand the story. You called it a white bread story, meaning simple, right?
I mean, I understood it. I'm
not saying you didn't understand.
I don't know. I think part of this too is just all the buildup that I've had for it.
Sure.
Expectations play a huge part in how anyone takes in a movie. So I think just was expecting something more like complex, and that's not to knock the movie for what what they did in the movie. It's just going into it, I had an expectation of one thing, and I kind of, as the movie was going on, I was like kind of wondering like when is what's the twist going to be that really pulls me into it, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I actually like the most about this is that it wasn't trying to be like and I'm not saying this is what you're saying, but it wasn't trying to be like an M. Night Shyamalan movie or anything like that. It was what it was. It was just how great they went about the storytelling itself. And that's what I love about movies is whenever the storytelling is done so well. I mean, the violence in this movie, everything in this movie, it feels like you're witnessing a real crime. It feels like oh my gosh, like it just makes you cringe a little bit, but at the same time you want to keep watching, and it's almost like punishment watching this movie, but at the same time you feel a great reward when it's finished. Well, I did anyway. I felt a great reward after finishing it, and even watching it again. I've seen this movie at least 10, maybe closer to 15 times, and every time I watch it I still cringe. I still know exactly what's going to happen. I still go wince and all that. So anyway, I think that's why I like it, because there didn't need to be any twists and turns. It was just straight up, So and
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna knock it for in that sense.
Oh, I didn't think you were.
I didn't connect with this movie, I guess, as much as you did. But it was worth watching. I like I said, I really enjoyed the environment and the acting, especially Anton Yelchin.
Yeah.
I thought he really kind of immersed himself in the role.
So let's go ahead and we'll put it up right here. We're going to go ahead and just spoilers. Please watch this movie before you go any further, because this movie I think is best taken in without any spoilers. So give you time. There you go. All right. Now, Brandon, what did you think about the acting, and being that you have been in places like this, the scenery and things like that, like the club and whatnot? Did it feel real to you? Did they feel like a real band to you?
I mean, the venue definitely felt like as far as like, being in a bunch of different venues throughout the years, lots of different green rooms. I Ryan, do you know what a green room is? I mean, you should at this point watching the movie, but basically, those green rooms are always like the most disgusting part of the venue, just in general. And so the idea of like kind of being trapped in a green room because of somebody getting offed is a very
wasn't surprising.
Well, yeah, it's pretty believable scenario. But no, I mean, as far as the location, it was kind of a very perfect setting for a story like this. Kind of being off a off dirt beaten path in the woods. What was it, Oregon? Is that where it was?
Yeah, Oregon.
And as far as the band is concerned, everything with them was believable except for like the actual concert part. I didn't buy them as musicians because they're not, and they didn't sell it as much, especially well. And I'm sure Rusty can attest to this, and Rusty's my drummer. He's very picky about that kind of thing, and I am too. Whenever I watch people recreate live music in like a movie setting, I'm always looking to see if they're actually playing what they're playing.
And they were playing.
I don't know.
They had to learn. So Jeremy Saulnier made them learn, I think 5 or 6 songs, and he said you have to know these in your sleep. You have to, because Jeremy Saulnier was a skateboard punk kid, along with Macon Blair, who is one of the main characters. But anyway, so they had to know it. Now, I would say the weakest link in that was Alia Shawkat playing guitar. Didn't really look like she was.
She was so distracting to me. All I could think about was Arrested Development.
I was about to say. But they actually, as a band, as the Ain't Rights, name of the band, or the Aren't Rights, as they called them at the club, they actually played the party and whatnot. So, I mean, so they did know their stuff. Now, I believed them. I agree with you. Kind of like, what was it, Richard Jewell that we did? And it was like Kenny Rogers was all off and everything. So I agree with you on that. But I will say that they had to learn the song. So that's at least something,
Yeah, well, yeah, that was just enough. That was just the least believable thing about the movie to me, was that. And that's just that's a pet peeve. But
I have one major issue with this movie, but do you want to wait until we get... Are you going to work your way through the film, or...
You can say whatever you want to, it's fine.
Okay, so when they finally escape and they decide to go, track down...
Find Darcy, yeah.
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart.
I was like... I would have been much more satisfied if they just escaped and left. I was like... like for a movie like this that was trying to be so real and like put you in their place and like it kind of give you the feelings that you're talking about, I felt like that was a moment where it like went to like more stereotypical horror movie, like gotta get the revenge kind of deal.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't the smartest characters. I mean, let's just put it out there, but
they just presented themselves as so scarred by this. And
I mean, you just watched all his friends get mangled.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, if you get out of that situation, it's like get out.
I could see that. I mean, as far as a criticism, because they do make a very big point to have them react realistically with everything. And I listened to Jeremy Saulnier. Is it Saulnier?
Saulnier.
I listened to his commentary yesterday on the movie, and he was talking about how he wanted like their gunplay to be very like rough around the edges, and like sloppy, because they wouldn't be experienced with handguns, and they wanted to like a lot of like, he wanted it to feel like they were reacting and freaking out versus like, you know, a normal movie would just have them be the protagonist and just like adapt really easily and just, you know,
they'd be like gun aficionados.
So I can kind of agree with you to that point. It does feel like more of a satisfactory ending for the audience for them to hunt him down. That feels a little tropey,
right?
For this type of movie, considering how realistic they were.
I did like the. I don't want to say a through line, but I mean it really is kind of a through line. But the, you know, the island band that you have to choose. So, deserted island band, you only get to choose one. And how, like, up front, they were all like, you know, they were just naming out whatever
cool bands
would keep their street cred going, you know. And then it was like Prince and stuff like, you know. So, did you
relate
guys
to that? Relate to it.
You and me both, Brandon.
Relate to that with my bands, with my movies, everything.
So,
me both.
My
Except
religion.
we just say it.
So, did you guys ever figure out?
Don't beat around the bush.
Did you guys ever figure out what Anton Yelchin's band was?
It's undisclosed.
Or is it?
Well, according to the commentary, only Saulnier and Anton Yelchin know.
Or
And
is
they
it?
never. Well, I don't know what it is, Al.
Well,
Fire away, Al.
so this is the way I look at it. The whole movie, they have the Blair brothers doing the score, and then they have punk rock music, and then the cow catchers, whatever they're called, their music and whatnot. But at the very end, CCR song. So I kind of took that as, hang on, because he says the line, like he says, I figured it out. And then she's like, tell somebody who cares, you know? And then it smash cuts to CCR song. So I'm thinking his band, maybe that might have been a subliminal way of saying CCR.
Yeah.
So that's the way I took it. I'm not saying I heard that anywhere, and didn't read that anywhere. That's just my own take. So
Yeah.
it just juxtaposes the entire movie with that particular song. So
So Robert Pattinson, Tennant,
I don't know.
son situation.
That could be. I just know that in the commentary he said that they were only two that knows, undisclosed, and now it's only one person that knows, unless they've told other people.
yeah, it's real sad that Anton Yelchin passed away. He did another movie. I think he did one more movie after this, Thoroughbreds.
What was the last movie that he?
I want to say it was Thoroughbreds.
Thoroughbreds
wasn't it?
was good.
That was really
No.
good. That was
Was
really
it?
good.
Was that
I
the
want to
last
say
one?
it was his last one, but I could be wrong. Hey,
Yeah.
if we're wrong, hit us up in the comments. Let us know.
I think that's right. But the commentary itself was recorded before he had passed. I know because they don't
good.
address it. And then, yeah, because I was curious. I looked that up.
Yeah, I mean he's a likable guy.
Wrote the book.
But I liked his performance in this movie. I thought it was funny because, and Brandon, I think you can attest to this, as I can too. But you're the leader of a band. You're the person that has to set up the shows or whatever, and everybody. And I'm not saying this about Rusty or David. I'm just saying in general, being in a band. But people take advantage of everything about you until it's time to put your feet to the flame. They're like, yeah, you can take care of it. Like they just kind of push your opinions aside and everything. And then it's like, oh yeah, so like
You're gonna bash him 2 weeks in a row.
Oh no, David, we don't think you're stupid. We love you, buddy. Just couldn't believe that fact. But no, but I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, I loved how the band was like crapping on him and everything, and then as soon as there was like, you have to deal with the club promoter, or you have to deal with anything that was something they didn't want to do. Like, here's our representative, basically. So, I found that to be very, very true.
Yeah, the best part of the movie to me was everything like up to the point where he gets his arm all chopped up. Like all the tense.
Yeah, the tension in this movie is real.
Leading up to that scene.
Yeah.
Once they started once they kept sending in different, I don't know, neo-Nazi dudes to come in and off them, it just kind of, that part was just kind of a little repetitive for me.
Wonder if we're going to get flagged if we keep saying that term.
That's what I was saying earlier.
Wonder if we're going to get flagged. So we'll call them jerks. We'll call them the jerks. How about that? So I also liked the guy that ended up killing the girl. Whenever he turns around and he says,
that was real specific.
Whenever he, well, I mean, that's the character. When he turns around and he says, so what was that second to last song you did? That was killer,
That's when I did her.
Yeah.
Whatever he says.
It was like, I believe that. I mean, like, he was, like, I don't know, a good director is able to pull out really good performances.
He gets away scot-free, sitting on his couch with his
eating
friend
cereal.
ODing.
Yeah, eating cereal. But I think my favorite line out of the whole movie is, you were so much more scarier at night, So, that is so true. I mean, and you were talking about the arm being mangled up. Oh, that is one of those parts I put my knees in my chest, man.
That part to me wasn't that crazy compared to the belly slice when she slices the guy from like navel to chest.
Yeah, the guy from Parks and Rec. That was rough. But let's talk about Imogen Poots for a second. So,
Gesundheit.
Thank you. I find her to be a really good actress. I like her. Well, I
feel
do.
Like you say her name every episode in some capacity.
Do I really?
Yeah.
Okay. New drinking game. No, I like her. I don't think I've disliked her in anything I've seen.
We need a soundboard of Al. Imogen Poots, I like her.
No, I think she's a good actress.
Brandon, we do need to make a soundboard.
Let's get a cameo from Imogen Poots, send it to Al for his birthday.
But no, I think she's a good actress. But that I was listening to an interview with her, and she was talking about the wig that she wore, and I was hoping that was a wig, and but she wore that wig, and she said that kind of helped put her in character and things of that nature. So I thought she was
so like a costume.
Yeah,
actors.
Like, get into character.
What's that?
But I found her very serviceable in this movie. I didn't think she was like just like a wasted character or anything. She could have just been like a screen.
She have agency. I think she had agency. She wasn't just like a damsel in distress. Is that what you're saying?
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
She was pretty mad for me.
I liked her.
Do much.
I liked her how she
when
she and Anton Yelchin were getting the last two guys.
Like Imogen Poots?
I do. I find her to be a good actress. I really do.
She makes me feel kind of funny, like when we used to climb the rope in gym class.
I'm not even talking about her in that regard. I'm talking about her as a good actress. I thought, and I found out in an interview that she and Anton Yelchin have been friends for many, many years prior to Green Room. So I remember whenever he died, she took it really hard, and I was like,
I'll be there for you.
No.
You want to go comfort her?
It wasn't like that. So anyways. So anyway, I thought she was good in this movie. I thought Alia Shawkat was I thought she was good in this movie too. However, I thought whenever I first saw this movie, the main thing I knew her from was Arrested Development. So it was a little bit.
I think she was a late addition to the
Stand.
cast, according to Saulnier. Like originally, it was going to be a male band because that's what his band was that he was in, and he was kind of modeling after his personal band experience.
Yeah, she got hired 5 days before they started shooting.
Yeah,
5 days, and Patrick Stewart was only there for 10 days total.
Yeah, one cool thing that I listened to on the commentary was Patrick Stewart's first day there was his introduction scene when he gets out of the van, and they don't really show his face; they just show him kind of from behind,
the back of his head, the hat.
And that day, like the director was like digging trenches, trying to get like like scrambling because they were behind, and like he was trying to get these trenches dug for some shot that was unrelated, but and so he kept like having to put off Patrick Stewart, and then like, and I think like he didn't say this directly, but he hinted that he was like a little worried, Stewart, like because it was his first day and he's like a big name actor, and he was a little like not necessarily like pissed off, but just kind of like worried about what he'd got himself into with this young director. And so he had to like, he sat down with Patrick Stewart the next day and kind of like told him, like apologized for the previous day and like tried to like smooth over things with him. And then everything was smooth sailing after that. But he just like said that Stewart was a little like, a little, you know, worried. But, so that was interesting because he was so like, he was talking about how like, it was like a dream come true, like to have his like childhood friend Macon Blair sharing a scene with Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
And
he was talking about watching them walk through a punk rock show together was insane. I watched an interview with him and he alluded to that as well. But he also said that Patrick Stewart read the entire script for Blue Ruin first, just to kind of get a gauge for Saulnier's work, and loved it. And then he started reading Green Room, and he got to Saulnier said page 40. He went around his entire house and closed all the windows and locked all the doors, and then had to sit down and like take a stiff drink and then start reading it again. He said it scared him to the point to where he had to like make sure he had his security because he could feel it and everything, and that's what ultimately sold him on doing the movie. So
yeah,
that's awesome. And
I like his directing style. I was really excited for Hold the Dark when it was coming out.
Yeah, I was
too.
It
was a little underwhelming. And then I was also really excited for season 3 of True Detective because he was supposed to direct the entire third season of that, and then some sort of shenanigans happened behind the scenes and he quit 2 episodes in. When I heard that, I just didn't even check out that season because I loved season 1 of that show. Season 2 was almost unwatchable, and then when they said Saulnier was doing season 3, I was really excited. But then
he's got another movie in pre-production right now, which I'm sure there are a ton of movies in pre-production right now. We'll be in for a while, but so that'd be good. I'm wondering if Macon Blair will be in his next movie. He wasn't in Hold the Dark, was he? I can't remember.
Yeah, he was.
Was he? Okay.
You were asleep when he was on screen.
I honestly,
Al fell asleep watching that one.
Yeah, I didn't really like that one too much. But anyway, I mean, but I don't know. That was based on.
Ryan, have you seen Hold the Dark?
No.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's a serviceable. It's not terrible. It's a fine movie. It's just it's kind of like okay. It's got Jeffrey Wright is the lead in it. It's got one of the Skarsgård guys in it.
One of those.
Can't remember which one. The older one, not the It one, but the other one.
Not Bill. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I still am excited to see his stuff. Now he's in the interviews while doing Green Room, while doing press for Green Room. He said that he was going to go off and do some other people's writing, direct some other people's writing, but then he wants to get back in the writer's chair. So I'm really eager to see what he does, because if you really ultimately look at it, if you like Green Room, I think you're going to like Blue Ruin. They're very much kind of in the same vein. I would say Blue Ruin is much more depressing. But it's a really good movie. And if you want to see what Buzz from Home Alone's up to, hey, watch Blue Ruin. So it's really good. And last time I checked, they were all on Netflix, but I'll make sure we get the facts on that.
One time.
But yeah, I think he's a breath of fresh air. I'm not a big fan of Hold the Dark, but I mean, not every director, has bats 1,000, so to speak. So, but I do want to talk about just Macon Blair for a second. Macon Blair They were high school friends, well, actually friends before high school, and they shot movies a lot while they were, while Saulnier was in bands and skateboarding and all that stuff. On the side, he would shoot these movies, and he was a big fan of Verhoeven, who directed, of all things, RoboCop, in which I love RoboCop, the original RoboCop. It's fantastic. And that movie, the way Paul Verhoeven would direct, all his like gore and I guess violence and everything was extremely gory, and just, I mean, you kind of like I was saying earlier, you kind of smell it, feel it, and it made you cringe. So that's who he really kind of favored back in the day, and I'm guessing he kind of brought that into his professional movie making. But they would make their own squibs and things like that back in the day. So it was really interesting to watch some of the clips of some of his homemade movies with his buddies when they were kids, and Macon Blair was right there with him. And so when they started making movies together, he says that Macon Blair is kind of his muse for writing these movies. So that's really cool to see. And then the other Blair brothers, Brooke and Will, I think. They, I want to make sure I get that right. Will and Brooke Blair. They did the score, so that's interesting too. So they kept it very tight knit, similar to how Quentin Tarantino does, and other filmmakers for that matter. But Macon Blair, in his own right, is a director, and he directed a really good Netflix movie called "I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore," and I really enjoyed that movie a great deal. And it's more of a light-hearted version of a Saulnier type movie.
Sounds lighthearted.
No, it's really funny. It he wrote it. He wrote and directed it. It has Elijah Wood in it, and Elijah Wood is
Frodo.
He's basically Dwight Schrute from The Office type character. But it's a really funny movie, so I suggest everybody go out and watch that as well. But I really am looking forward to everything that these two guys do. I really think they have kind of their own style, and I hope that they stay in that vein. So Macon Blair is not, and I really think Macon Blair is a good actor. I think he's serviceable in this movie. I believe him and he's the main character in Blue Ruin, and I believe him. I believe him as the characters. He's got his eyes do a lot of the work for him. So you can kind of see in there. So it's really nice to see what he's thinking and things of that nature while he's acting. So it's really nice.
I think he was
to be able to play right next to Patrick Stewart's impressive.
Yeah. I don't think he was originally supposed to be in this movie. Saulnier said he couldn't find a character that was a good fit for him, and then I guess he created this character, this little second right-hand man type character.
Yeah.
Specifically for him. But
yeah, I don't know.
Ryan, what do you think about Macon Blair, the Blair Brothers, or Blair Witch Project, or
do you know who he is?
Things.
Did Blair Witch Project guy do The Witch?
No,
I was just kidding with the Blair Witch Project. I just said Blair.
So Macon Blair is the pretty much the toady to Patrick Stewart, the guy that tries to, he calls the cops back and says, "Yeah, we got to report a stabbing and all that stuff." So that's Macon Blair. So
it's like the GM at Nazi camp.
Yeah. He's the understudy. So what'd you think about his performance?
Jerk camp. Brandon.
Yeah, jerk camp. So Ryan, what'd you think about his performance? Did you find him
he was good. Again, for me, that's Tale of Two Halves. Like, you could kind of tell in the first half he was being like pulled in two directions, like morally, and then he was just kind of, he has loyalties, but he was also terrified of the people he was loyal to. I don't really think there would have been a way to involve his character more, but I would have liked to see that in the second half, where he kind of just pops up in the room when they come out of the the drug,
The storage,
what you call it.
the storage warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a little anticlimactic, I guess, for him. I felt like he could have deserved a little bit more than what he got there.
Well, I like that he had a change of heart. You know, he had an actual arc to where he's like, I don't even care about these red laces. You know.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where, like,
that's all he wanted, and then when he got them, he's like, I don't want this. I don't want these people. I don't want to go to jail.
well, we kind of talked about it, bring it back to nerd culture. We kind of talked about it with Kylo Ren, where, like, he's done so much bad that, like, you still can have an arc and have him be punished the way he needs to be punished. So I don't know. I just felt like there wasn't, like, an exclamation point on his character the way that there could have been.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff, like, you know, the subtleties in this movie and in Blue Ruin are some of the things that I like the most. I like the fact that, you know, people are like, well, they didn't really announce that the drummer was good at jiu-jitsu or whatever. Well, they kind of did at the beginning whenever he puts the guy that lost the gig for him up against the wall, and they're like, oh, okay, calm down, Kung Fu or whatever they called him. And so that was, and he
Tad.
was the tough, yeah, he was the tough guy in the band and things of
Sure.
that nature. So I like how they subtly did that stuff. I really liked how in the beginning you see him in the cornfield and you can, and he's still in drive, but the corn stopped him.
I don't know if that's, like, necessarily, like, I mean, it's subtle, but, like, I don't think you would expect them to, like, him, like, pull out his belts and be like, just so you know, I'm the guy who kicks A around here. You know what I mean? Like,
No, no. I mean, I liked it. I mean, I thought it was all well done. I also didn't think you really needed to get too deep in the dirt with you know, like, I think we knew more than enough about these people by the time we got there.
To Ryan's point earlier about making Blair's character not really getting his comeuppance, I think that kind of goes back in this movie's favor with the realistic approach, is where it's like sometimes bad people don't get their comeuppance, just like the guy that killed the girl is like at the end of the movie eating cereal. Versus
I think
versus kind of
juxtaposition where, like, at that when those two things happened, it was like at a time where the two main characters were, like, deciding to go on the revenge tour or whatever. So it was just a little, I don't know. It was like, which direction are you?
Yeah. So I mean, I see both sides. They should have just committed one way or the other. For that, but speaking of the guy. Al mentioned the guy, the like radio interview guy that set him up with the show. Did you recognize that guy from The Boys? The Tad, I think was his character's name, but he's like the kid in The Boys that can regrow limbs and is like prostituting himself.
Yeah, he
around.
is. That's funny. When you just mentioned that, I was like, is he? I can't remember what his name.
He's got a very distinct face.
Yeah.
A very long nose, long face. Yeah. When I rewatched it a couple of days ago with the commentary, I was like, oh, I don't recognize that guy from The Boys.
Yeah.
If you have watched The Boys, prostituting limbs, you'll understand what we're talking about.
Yes.
I was surprised to learn that the drummer is British in real life. Like, Brandon would never be able to have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
So,
nor would I want to.
I was like, let's reel this back in.
this is my moment.
Yeah, the drummer's
can I
British.
say?
It's crazy.
It's my moment.
One thing that I wanted to say
I'm
about
never gonna win again. Come on, let's be honest.
the directing style in the commentary, Saulnier mentioned, he used the phrase "wasting production value" a lot, which was interesting to me. He basically was saying how they had this high-profile actor with Sir Patrick Stewart, but chose to sparingly show him throughout, like using him behind the door, like when he's like negotiating with them in the green room, shooting
his
him
feet.
from behind a lot. Yeah, he wanted to kind of use it as a tension builder versus just kind of putting the money on screen. Same with like their sets and stuff, with like wide shots from exterior locations and things like that.
Gentlemen.
But I thought that was kind of cool. It's a cool mentality to have, where it kind of, instead of just doing the obvious thing, which is to show everything and use them as much as possible to sell whatever you're selling, they kind of used it as a...
Yeah, he did what was best for the movie. You're right. I agree.
Speaking of Patrick Stewart, it's kind of funny. There's a commercial that's out right now for Uber Eats.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
Where, yeah. So, like, the color palette in that commercial is, like, the exact same color palette from Green Room. And it was the first, like I saw the commercial for the first time the other day, right before I watched Green Room. And so it was just kind of funny, like, when I popped it on and saw him, I was like, this looks familiar. I saw this on an Uber Eats commercial 2 hours earlier.
Yeah, I liked how, so I know one thing whenever the movie first came out, one of the things that, I don't want to say turned people off, but one of the things people talked about as a negative for this movie was the fact that Patrick Stewart wasn't like crazy and, you know, holding people against the wall and yelling a lot and stuff like that. So how did you guys feel about him being mild-mannered, like keeping it together, real? I mean, he basically was just Patrick Stewart in some regard.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with his character. It's just one of those things where he had a couple of those jerks working under him that were a little off the rails, and the fact that they kind of showed how he was controlling them with drugs and kind of helped with credibility there.
Yeah, so many people wanted him to like have that scene where he just like flailed at everybody and whatnot, and
I think the last scene with him where he gets shot is pretty solid. It reminded me, when I watched it, of The Departed when Jack Nicholson dies.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Oh, we already said spoilers for everything, so any movie we talk about after we say spoilers means spoilers. Brandon, how'd you feel about
but this is not a Departed review.
Well,
it is now.
It's not about the boys either. So, what did you think about Patrick Stewart being mild-mannered and, you know, things of that nature? Well, calm.
I don't have an opinion.
I thought it was even more ruthless, because it's like
he was Patrick Stewart. I didn't expect him to. I mean, I haven't seen Patrick Stewart do a role like that.
Awkward for him to like get physical in a role or something.
Yeah, he did that one where he pushed Macon Blair up against the wall, like right when he got there, just for a split second. But I thought it was
that. Honestly, that was the part that looked like the most unbelievable in terms of because he's just not a physical person.
Yeah,
and he's old.
And I like the fact that I don't know. It was more unsettling to me.
Nope.
Oh my gosh, man, we got so many PSAs we got to do after this. I like the fact that he was so much more unsettling in that regard because of the way that he was portrayed. Because it was like, this is old hat. We've done this before. You know, this isn't our first murder. That's what it felt like to me. And
murder.
And the fact that they were able to go straight into, all right, this is how we blame them for it and things of that nature. So now we're going to talk about the one thing that really upsets people about this movie, and that's the dogs. That's the dogs. So, ultimately, that's why Katie didn't watch the movie. Because of the dogs. So I understand.
She checked doesthedogdie.com.
Oh my gosh. They don't show him die.
So that's what
he goes and lays by his owner at the end.
Yeah, they don't show him die.
When I watched the movie, there's 2 dogs.
Yeah, there's 2 dogs.
Well, that one does.
No, the one that
watched it the first time
dies is the one tied to the fence. The one that comes up and lays next to him's the one that they gave him on the leash to go in and finish the job.
Yeah, when I watched the movie, because Katie made it clear that the dog died before I watched the movie. So I was waiting for it, and I guess I just turned my head at the scene where wherever the dog.
You never see the dog die.
Okay, so yeah, I remember, or when I watched the movie and came back in here, I was like, dog doesn't die, and then I looked it up, and there were 2 dogs. So.
Yeah, so you never see the dog. It's just implied because they inject the dog with some kind of something to kill the dog, and he's like, I consider it a favor to let the dog be with me when he dies. So whenever Imogen and Anton get over there, he ties the dog to the fence because she's got her shotgun on him.
Right.
And that ultimately is the dog that dies. Never see him die. So if that is something that is a point of contention for you for watching this movie, which that means you've not watched the movie and now you've got it all spoiled for you, please don't let that be a point of contention. Now, the dogs are ruthless.
I think it's like more of a, like the animal abuse kind of, and the brutality of them, like the idea that these dogs have been like trained to do this,
right? Well,
and
it's what pit bulls were kind of formed to do. But
I'm not saying one, like defending one way, not defending, but I'm not like.
Yeah, I mean, hey, there's good pit bulls in the world. There are. My aunt and uncle had a great pit bull. But
this conversation took a hard right.
Pit bulls are
modified
dogs.
We talked about Nazis and dog fighting and
yeah, there's a bunch of jerks, a bunch of stupid jerks in this movie. So, anyway, does anybody have anything to add or subtract from this movie?
I liked the.
What are you gonna subtract from this movie, Brandon?
I'm sure you'll agree with this, Al. I really liked the homage to Zack Snyder with the slow-mo concert footage. That
Not
was
at all
really
what
nice.
that was.
I really that he said that in the commentary,
No,
and I really appreciated
fake
that.
news once again.
He's a big fan, so
he's not at all.
I am too. And so, yeah. And I did figure out why you like this movie so much. The Commando-inspired war paint. You're a big Commando fan. That's it. That's why you like it.
Yeah, with the Sharpie. The Sharpie. Yeah, no, I have nothing else to add. I think we've kind of exhausted all areas of this movie. I would say that if you watch this movie and you decided...
We've beaten this dead pit bull.
God.
So we're gonna get flagged on this one for sure. I think if you've watched this movie,
it's a good run, guys,
and you didn't like it, please explain to us why you didn't like it. I'm not gonna argue with anybody. You like or dislike what you like.
Mainly because I manage the comments.
Only people I'm gonna argue with are these two, so I'm not gonna argue with anybody else. I went into the comments and thanked everybody and lobbied a little bit.
I'm just messing with you, Al.
Yeah. So it's Brandon that doesn't touch the comments. I'm just saying. So anyway.
Stay off the
Ryan,
comments.
Anything else? Anything else you got to add or subtract?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, guys, let's get to the most important part of the podcast. Ryan, would you buy, sell, skip? What would you do with this movie?
If you're a movie collector, it's a cool one to own. If you take pleasure in, like, you have people over and they're like, I want to watch something I haven't seen before, it'd be a good one to pop out. Not well known. But if you're a casual movie fan, then I'd probably say rent it.
Okay. All right.
But let's see for sure.
All right. So rent it and see it for sure. Brandon, how about yourself?
I think it's a toss-up. It depends on what kind of stuff you're into. If you've been in a band, watch this movie. You'll relate to it just with that. Everybody that I know that's been in a band that's watched this movie loves this movie. If you like, gritty kind of suspense / semi, not necessarily horror, but a little more brutal type movies, it's also right up your alley. So. I would say, if you're into that, buy it. If you're not, then
That sounds like an hour review.
Wow.
Yeah. So
It's a movie, you know, you can watch it.
I
Don't
can't
watch
wait
it,
to
like
see
it
what
if
that
you want.
graphic is. This. So I say buy it. I don't think this movie is for everybody. But I do think it's worth watching because it starts a discussion whether you like it or not. And that's what movies ultimately, in my mind, are supposed to do. Start
So
a
buy it
discussion.
whether you like it or not. That's Al's.
You know what
That's
movie
right.
starts a lot of discussion is Batman vs Superman.
I agree.
Yeah. Makes a lot of people kill themselves. So anyway,
No reported cases. Fake news.
think of
Yeah,
one.
leave that to Brandon.
I can think of one. So anyway,
If we were
So
only
guys-
that lucky.
so that was our review of Green Room. Now we have
We're
to
sorry.
now we have to ask folks to vote on our next movie that we're going to review for next week. So, Brandon, what are you bringing to the table this week for folks to vote on?
Drum roll.
My movie for this week is going to be The Trial of the Chicago 7. It is a Netflix release. I think it came out like 2 weeks ago. And it is a Aaron Sorkin directed and written movie. It's got
So they talk fast.
Sacha Baron Cohen in it. It's got Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Eddie Redmayne. Pretty good cast. And yeah, it's on Netflix. And it's
Eddie
based on a
Redmayne.
true story. Old butthole mouth Eddie Redmayne.
Oh, that guy's hard to watch.
I cannot watch Fantastic Beasts.
That
I
guy's
just can't
terrible.
do it.
But that's the one I'm... Oh, it's also got Jeremy Strong from Gentleman
does it
fame. And also...
Guess what? I'm into it. Vote for Brandon's
There
movie.
you go.
Oh boy.
I'm a Succession fan.
Succession.
right.
Yeah.
So Ryan, what are you going to put forth?
I'm going to throw out their little war movie action, 1917.
Oh, that's a good one. Saw that. We all saw that in the theater. So, No.
Nope.
That
Ryan
was
didn't.
Dunkirk.
oh.
Ryan didn't see
yeah.
it with us.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, sorry.
He wasn't invited.
I
I'm fine, guys.
I am going to throw out a Taika Waititi movie that we talked about on our Jojo Rabbit episode, but I think everybody should watch it. It's a very fun movie. It's lighthearted, but it also is very well acted, very well directed.
Thor Ragnarok.
No. This is the movie that really
Got it. Thor Ragnarok. We'll see you guys next week.
Yep.
This
Vote
is the
in
movie that
comments
really
below. Thanks.
put Taika Waititi on the map for a lot of people and ultimately got him a lot of the jobs that people know him for now. So I'm going to put up Hunt for
The
the Wilder.
Mandalorian episode 8.
No. Hunt for the Wilder People. Brandon has to watch this with subtitles, I'm sure. So it'll be
I've
all
already
right
seen it.
with
I
subtitles.
wouldn't worry about it, Al.
It's a very
Yeah.
good movie. It's
Yeah,
very it's
don't worry-
got a lot of heart.
Don't worry about it. You've had your day in the sun, buddy. It's over.
Hey, I've never had a day in the sun. It's nice. So again, I
Yeah.
want to thank everybody.
Flew too close to the sun today.
I want
Yep.
to thank
Right.
everybody.
Old
for
Icarus.
voting.
Old pale Icarus over there.
I'm transparent. So I want to thank everybody for watching CiNEMAChiNE, for voting. Please vote again. Contact us. And Ryan, do you want to tell them again how they can get in touch with us?
Pod, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and obviously if you're on YouTube, then hit us up in the comments.
There you go. So thanks, everybody. Brandon and Ryan. It was a lot of fun talking about a movie that I won. I'll have to watch this episode every time that y'all win from this point forward so that I know that I actually won one. So I'm on the board. Thanks to everybody, and we will see you on the next CiNEMAChiNE.